Hello everyone and welcome back to Redstone for Beginners. Now in this episode we're going to be talking about wiring. In other words, how we connect all of our redstone components up. So let's get started. Now the first thing that I have to teach you is very important. Two things to be exact. So first, blocks can either be powered or unpowered. So if I flip this lever like that, this smooth stone block here is powered. If I turn it off, it is unpowered. Now, there's a rule for powering redstone components like this redstone lamp. It either has to be powered directly or it has to be next to a powered block. So if I flip this lever right now, I'm powering this redstone lamp directly, and if I flip this lever on, I'm powering this smooth stone block, which is then powering the lamp. So let's say I've got these redstone lamps here and I want to turn them all on using this lever input here. Well, I could do that very easily using redstone dust. So if I place redstone dust on the ground like this, I can connect all of them up so that when I flip this lever, they are all going to light up. And you can see the redstone dust will glow bright red when it's powered. Now also, if you notice, this also works for blocks. You see this smooth stone block here is being powered and this redstone lamp is working because it is next to a powered block. The other thing you need to keep a really close eye on is the textures. So if you notice here, the redstone dust looks like it's traveling into these redstone lamps. That has to be the case. If I connect a redstone dust line like this, you'll notice that that redstone lamp turns off. So the redstone dust has to be traveling into a block to power it. The other thing that you need to note when using redstone dust is that it powers the block that it's sitting on top of. So if I place redstone dust like this and flip on this lever, you'll notice all of these redstone lamps turn on because the smooth stone blocks that they are on are being powered. These are all next to power blocks, so they turn on. Now, an important thing that you need to remember when using redstone dust is there is a limit, which is due to something that we call signal strength. Now, I've set up a lever here, a very long redstone wire connected to this redstone lamp. But if I flip the lever, you'll notice it doesn't turn that redstone lamp on. It turns this one on, but not that one. Why is that? Well, any redstone signal from, let's say, a lever, redstone torch, redstone block, whatever, will have a signal strength of 15. There are some exceptions, but most of them have signal strength of 15. So in other words, 15 blocks, it will emit a redstone signal, but no more than that. And if you notice, the redstone dust actually glows a darker shade of red as the signal strength wanes. And if you also notice the texture here, this redstone dust here is still emitting particles, which means it is still powered. This redstone dust is not. So if I show you here with some redstone lamps, this can still be powered, this one is not. So what can we do? Well, it's very simple. We use this thing which is called a redstone repeater. So if I place a redstone repeater here, it will boost this signal back up. So this redstone lamp is now being powered. So there are a few things that I should add about a redstone repeater. First is that you can add delay. So if I right click it, you will notice the texture of it changes slightly. Now if I turn this lever on, I get a little bit of delay before that redstone lamp turns on. This one turns on pretty much immediately, whereas that redstone lamp, I have to wait a little bit more. The other thing that you need to take note of is that they only work in one direction. You can see it's almost like an arrow on the texture pointing that way. So if I try and power the redstone line here, it will stop at this repeater, which is very useful. Now the other thing to note about redstone repeaters is that they work a little bit differently to redstone dust, and I'll show you how in a second. So if I turn on this lever, we already know that it's going to power all these redstone lamps because these smooth stone blocks are being powered by the redstone dust. But if I use a repeater instead, that is not the case. So a repeater will not power the block that it's sitting on top of. Now, the other thing about a repeater to note is that it can take a signal out of a powered block. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, I'll show you. So if I turn on this lever here, the redstone dust is going into this smooth stone block, which means it is being powered. But I cannot just take a signal out of this block using normal redstone wire. But I can use a repeater, and that will work just fine. Now, the other thing I will say about redstone dust is that there is another texture that you need to be aware of. So if I just place a singular piece of redstone dust like this, this will actually connect up with any block that is around it. So if I place redstone lamps here, here, and here, I flip on this lever, they are all going to turn on. So you can almost imagine it's pointing to all of these. But if I change the circuit so that it's like that, you'll see that texture changes. It's only pointing forwards, which means it can't power these redstone lamps. So pay attention to the texture of the redstone dust as you place it. So that is all well and good for when you want to connect redstone components that are all on the same level, say they're all on the ground or something like that. But what if you want to connect things that are either higher up or lower than the input? So in this example, let's say this is my base. I've got a redstone lamp up here and I want to turn it on with this lever. Now the very simple way of doing it is just building up a stairway for your redstone dust. So I can place redstone dust like this and it will travel up one block at a time. So if I turn on this lever, it will turn on the redstone lamp. Now, this is fine if this is, let's say, you're digging out a cave or something like that, and you've got lots of space, but it doesn't look particularly good, and it does take up a lot of space. The other problem with this is that it limits the blocks that you could place around it. For example, I cannot place a full block there, because as you see, it cuts off the redstone line, so that will not connect. Now, there's actually a few better ways of sending a signal upward that I'm going to talk to you about right now. The first is using these, which are half slabs. Now, this trick works with any half slab. It could be stone, it could be nether brick, it could be birch slabs, whatever. So again, I've got a lever input here. I want to turn on that redstone lamp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little stairway using these half slabs. And I'm going to connect them with redstone dust like this. And connect that to that iron block. And when I turn on this lever, it turns on the redstone lamp like that. Now, this trick works because I am using half slabs. Remember, if I use a full block like this, it will not connect up and it won't work, as you can see. Now, the other thing that you have to be aware of is that the half slabs must be on the top half of a block. If I were to place half slabs at the bottom half like this, I will not be able to place anything on it, including redstone dust. Now, the other tricks I'm going to show you involve redstone torches. So to talk just in a little bit more detail about how these works, I know I did mention them in the inputs and outputs video. I've got this little setup here. So this redstone torch is on a block. Now, if I power this block, that redstone torch is going to turn off, which means this redstone lamp is going to turn off. So essentially, they invert the signal. If I flip this lever on, it turns something off. And just to illustrate what's happening here, I've put it on a redstone lamp block itself, so you can see this block is powered, which means this torch turns off. Now, one of the advantages of this is that it makes it very easy to send signals upwards. So here I've got another scenario. Let's say this is another base. I've got a lever input here. I want to turn that redstone lamp on that's on the ceiling. I can use my redstone torches. Here's what you do. On the back of the block that the lever is on, I'm going to place a redstone torch. Then I'm going to place a full block on top of that. And another redstone torch. You see it turns off. Then a full block on top of that torch, and then a redstone torch, and I just keep on continuing that pattern until I get to the top here. Then I'm going to connect this iron block with redstone dust. Now remember, when this block powers, this should turn on the redstone lamp. And when I flip the lever, it turns on the lamp like that. And this is much more compact, much neater than the previous examples that I've shown you. Also, if you will notice, every time I flip the lever, the torches alternate. So all the torches that were on turn off, and all the torches that were off turn on. Now we can also use redstone torches to send a signal down. Now in this example here, let's say this is yet another base, and I've got a redstone lamp at the bottom here, but the input is actually at the top where this lever is. Now you can build a little stairway to send the signal down, but there's a slightly easier way, a more compact way to do this with redstone torches. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to place a redstone torch on the back of the block that the lever's on. Going to leave a block space, going to place a full block with redstone dust on it and a redstone torch on it. And exactly the same as before, underneath the redstone torch, leave a block space, place a block with redstone dust on it and redstone torch to the side, and exactly the same again, underneath the block with the redstone torch, leave a block space, place a block, redstone dust and a redstone torch. Now, if you notice, when I flip this lever on, it works beautifully. It turns on that redstone lamp. And just to explain what's going on here, when I power this block, this redstone torch is going to turn off, and so will that redstone dust. So this block will be unpowered, so this redstone torch will turn on, which will power this redstone and this block, which turns this redstone torch off, which unpowers this redstone and this block, which means this redstone torch can be powered, which finally powers the redstone lamp. Okay, so we're going to finish up with a few common examples of how to wire redstone that are quite common in redstone builds or things you might want to have in your base. So for this example, it looks quite simple at first. All we have is a lever input over here, and we have a row of pistons. Now we want these pistons to fire at the same time. So how do we wire these up? Well, you might think, for example, that we connect them up like this. But if you notice, when I flip this lever, nothing happens. Now, why is that? Well, if you remember, the texture of the redstone dust is wrong. They are not traveling into the pistons, which means they are not powered when I flip this lever. So how do I get around this? Well, one way is by using repeaters, because repeaters will not connect sideways. So if I place a repeater pointing into these pistons each, that will work beautifully. Now, there's another common mistake that you might have if you are a beginner when it comes to redstone, which is putting redstone dust on the pistons themselves. So let's try this out. Put redstone dust on the pistons themselves. Then when I power it, you see the problem right there. So when the pistons activate, they will break the redstone dust, which will break your contraption. So we can't do that. Now, what is the most efficient way of powering these pistons? Well, in this setup, this is what I would do. I would place blocks next to each of the pistons. Now, if I run redstone wire or redstone dust along the top of these blocks, they will all work just like that. Save us some resources on making all those repeaters. And just a reminder, just to make sure you understand how this is working. When I turn on this lever, this redstone dust is being powered, which means all the blocks underneath it are now powered. The pistons are next to a powered block, which means they can activate. Okay, so here is another example. Let's say I have a door and I want to activate it, but I want to activate it with a button that's a little bit further away. Say this wooden button here. Now, I could just connect it up directly with redstone like that, and the door will open just fine. But let's say I don't really want to see this. Redstone isn't the prettiest of things, so I want to, if at all possible, make as much of it as I can invisible so I can't see it. So let's go underground with this. And if I break away a few blocks, here's some that I've broken earlier. If I place redstone dust like this, snaking all the way up to the door, and press the button, oh, that's not going to work because the texture is wrong. The redstone is not traveling into that block underneath the door. So let's try the repeater again. If I place a repeater here, you see it's no longer connecting to that piece of redstone dust, and if I press the button, that works just fine. But there's a few problems here. The first one is I can't cover this up very well. For example, if I try to place a block here, it no longer works because I'm cutting off the redstone wire here. So what could I do instead? Well, there's a few things I could do. I can either use a half slab instead. That won't cut the redstone off, so you see it still works. Or I could use a repeater. So instead of using redstone wire here, let's use a repeater, because remember how repeaters work? Once this block is powered, I can then take a redstone signal out of it using a repeater. So let's try covering up that block, press the button, and you see it works perfectly. Now the other thing I might want to do, let's say that opens a little bit too soon. I don't have as much of a chance to get through the door as I'd like. I can add a little bit of delay by right-clicking with the repeater. Then if I press the button, I've got enough time to get through the door, just like that. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you liked it or if you found anything useful. And I'll see you in the next episode where we'll be talking about redstone comparators. See you later, guys. Bye.